Okay, the objective for this lesson is to be able to determine the slope and intercepts of a line given a graphed line. And actually, I know I wrote intercepts. More specifically, though, I really want to concentrate on finding the slope and especially the y-intercept, because if we know the slope and the y-intercept, then we can write an equation. And so that's, maybe you'll need to know the y-intercept and the slope more often than you'll need to know both the intercepts. But I'll show you both in some of them, and then at least you'll know how to do it. Okay, so anyway, let's do a few examples. You can see here in this first graph that the x-intercept, right, where my line crosses the x-intercept is at -1, okay? And where it crosses the x-axis, the y, the y is 0. So our x-intercept, okay, is -1, 0. Let's look at where it crosses the y-axis, okay? That will be our y-intercept. At our y-intercept, x is going to be 0. So it's going to be 0, something, and that something is -4. That is our y-intercept. So I found both the intercepts. Now I want to know, what is the slope of this line? Hopefully you can see that this slope is a negative slope. And we know that slope, if it's written in the slope-intercept form, is represented as m. Sometimes you'll see it as a. It is, though, the coefficient in front of the variable x when it's y equals mx plus b or y equals ax plus b. So anyway, we're going to find the slope of this line. And slope, we also know, is rise over run. So I'm going to pick 2 points on this line. Now, I especially want to make sure that I pick 2 points that both the coordinates values are whole numbers or integers anyway. I don't want to pick 3.5, 2. That's not going to be as easy to follow along. So I know that this is a whole number -1 and 0, and this is 0 and -4. They're not fractions. So I'm going to start at one point and move to the other point. So rise over run, to get from this point to this point, I need to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I went down 4. So down is going to be negative. I'm moving in the negative direction, down 4. Then I'm going to move right 1 to get to that second point. And right is a positive direction, so my slope is -4 over 1. And of course, if it's over 1, we don't usually write over 1, so my slope is just -4. By the way, I want to make this point as well. I could have used these 2 points, or any 2 points in the line for that matter. Let me show you one thing with these 2 points. This again is -1, 0. And then this point up here is -2, 4. Okay? So again, if I want to move now from this point to this point, rise over run, I'll go up 4. Okay? And that is a positive. If I go up 4, it's positive. But now this time I went up 4, I'm going to go left 1. I'm going to go left 1. Okay, so left is moving in the negative direction. You can see on the number line. So I went up 4 positive, and then left 1, and the 1 was, left was a negative. So I have m equals 4 over -1 this time. Well, we know if we simplify that, we also again get m equals -4. So either way, no matter how you go, as long as you rise over run, and if you go up for the rise, it's positive. And if you go right for the run, it's positive. Or if you're doing rise over run and you go down first, that's going to be negative. Or if you go left for the run, that's going to be negative. That's a lot of words. I think that one of the advantages of having this on video is that you can rewind that a few times and slow it down or listen to portion by portion, and hopefully it will make sense. Okay. By the way, I just wanted to also make one more note that there is also a way to find the slope. If you're just given two coordinates, it's not on a graph or anything. There's an equation to use to find the slope given 2 points, and that will be in a future lesson also. Okay, let's look at the next graph. Here we can see, well, hopefully you can see that clearly. We can see that the x-intercept pretty clearly is 3. So the x-intercept would be 3, 0. That's just an FYI because, as I said, the y is a little bit more important to us in the future. Now, we have a little bit of a special situation. The graph of this line doesn't go through a whole integer. Okay, we have this is the spot for -1. This is the spot for -2. You probably see that it's a halfway, but just to check, you can also see that next to this is 1, -1. That's a point on this line. And over here is -1, -2. So by looking at that also, instead of just eyeballing it, by using, well, I don't know, what is that, deductive reasoning or common sense, okay? There's a point, and then if you go, over 2 and down 1, there's another point. So we can see that this is halfway between. So actually our y-intercept here, okay, is 0. Of course, the x is 0. 0, -1 and a half. -1 and a half. Because it's halfway between -1 and -2. Now, to find our slope, we do it the same way. We can go from one point to another point. Let's just start at this point, which is -1, -2. And we'll go to this point, which is 1, -1. And so in order to do that, rise over run, we go up 1, right 2. That means up and to the right is a positive slope. Up 1, right 2. The slope is 1/2. And then we'll do one more example. Okay. Now this one again is a kind of interesting situation, and we're going to be able to see in just a second that the x-intercept is maybe we'll need to use some calculating actually to find out what that is. And I'm not going to, but I'm going to show you at the end very quickly how you could, if you really needed to know what the x-intercept was, you could find it. The y-intercept is pretty clear for us. That's going to be 0, 2. Okay, that's this point across the y-axis. The other point that I know is -5, -1. Okay, so I'm going to move from this point to this point to find the slope. So in order to do that, I need to go up 1, 2, 3. That's a rise of +3. And I need to go run is right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in a positive direction, my slope is 3/5. Now, last but not least, I said I would tell you how to solve to get the x-intercept. And so what we would do is we know that to find the x-intercept, y is 0. So we'll write this in the, believe it or not, the slope-intercept form. And 0 equals 3/5 x, right? That's our slope. Plus the y-intercept is 2. And then if we solve this, we would find out if the x-intercept, because the x-intercept is where x is a some value and y is 0. So if we put in 0 for y, solve for x, we get the x-intercept. If you wanted to later, I'll just tell you that the answer is, after you solve this, you should get the answer, I believe, of 3 1/3 or 10/3. Okay, but sorry, -3 1/3 or -10/3. Okay, that is all for this lesson, and hopefully, I think most of you guys will be able to figure out that by doing this, then you can go from a graph to an equation in the slope-intercept form.